Welcome race fans to a race recap presentation of SIMDYCAR. These drivers put on a thriller of a race the other night with a ton of action and drama. So let's dive in. But first I would like to introduce my comrade Computer Jr.
Hey Mike, it's awesome to finally be in the booth with you. This is a dream come true, and I'm looking forward to watching some good, hard SIMDYCAR racing.
So let's talk about the start of this race. It was Johnny Brugg who managed to finish out front in the 5-minute heat race that determined the grid for this 45-minute main event.
That's right, and he fired off as soon as he could to get as good of a launch to this race as possible. We can't say the same for that outside line, though.
No, we can't. That outside line had a huge checkup at the start, and that allowed Johnny to gain an even bigger gap than what he may have even been anticipating.
I think you're right, Mike. However, we all know the draft in these SIMDYCARs is incredibly strong, and that's what allowed everybody to not panic and gather themselves up quickly to start chasing Johnny down.
And that they did. Leading the charge in second place was newcomer Kevin Dixon. I should mention there is no relation to our AI friend Scott Dixon, who was also in the race, running around 5th place at the time.
That's right, Mike, and that brings up a good point to let the audience know that there were 8 real drivers in this race tonight, surrounded by 15 fellow AI racers, all in red painted covered cars.
And speaking of those painted red AI cars, it seems as though it only took them and the rest of the pack one single lap to catch back up to the leaders with the help of the draft after that poor start to the race for most of them.
Yeah, Mike, that pack got back up there quickly, and they seem to be in a hurry. It's been a clean start so far, but coming up here on lap 3, we see our first bit of contact between Alex Chase and Kiffin Simpson.
That's what we're about to see right here from Marcus Armstrong's point of view. Alex Chase in the yellow and pink Ghost car just appears to take a pretty hard shot to the side of his car out of the exit of turn 4 from Kiffin Simpson in that red AI machine.
Yeah, that was a pretty hard shot that put Alex into the wall, but good on him to keep that car pointed straight and not bring out the caution.
That was unfortunate for Mr. Chase, since he did have to come down pit road to get a new front wing back in place. However, our next bit of mishap was only 2 laps later when Philip Schmitz gets into the back of David Malukas.
That's what we see right here, and it looks like David's car just slowed down for some reason, and I know Philip was not expecting that, especially for where they were at on track.
The following lap, TJ Warren in the blue NAR 22 car tried sticking it 3 wide on the outside of Kiffin Simpson, but I don't think it quite worked out how TJ was hoping.
No, that didn't work out for TJ, but somehow we were still caution-less, that is, until our next wreck where we saw 2 AI drivers go for a tumble and go figure the caution finally came out for the first time when 2 AI cars were involved.
Those 2 AI drivers were Pato O'Ward and Scott Dixon, as we take a wild ride here on board with Scott.
Yeah, Scott definitely took a hard tumble here. I'm sure he was a little queasy after that one.
I know I am just from watching. Now, what we are about to see here happened under the caution period, and it ends up being a pretty important factor of this race, and we will explain why in more detail later on. But TJ Warren gets into the back of Kiffin Simpson once again and knocks his rear wing loose.
I can't believe TJ's car was able to hang on to that front wing after that contact, but Simpson's car didn't take that shot too well, and his speed on track, once we got green again, reflected it.
And you would think all the other cars would blow right past him. However, it appeared that some of his fellow AI drivers were afraid to make the move, and that led to Philip getting squeezed into the wall.
No caution, though, so that led to these guys having to strategize on how to get around this moving chicane. And here we see a good example from our leader on how to proficiently maneuver around this pack of slow cars.
Yeah. Yes, Brugg did a great job getting through there while in the lead without making any contact or losing too much speed. However, we are about to see a more aggressive approach, per se, to dealing with this rolling chicane of cars.
Yeah, TJ sent it in there deep, that's for sure. And Malukas didn't seem to take too kindly to that move and expressed his displeasure with TJ the following lap.
However, that did not stop TJ from trying to aggressively get around this pack once again. This time, though, maybe trying to imitate your dad's famous pass in the grass move. However, it does not work as well in a SIMD car as well as it does in a stock car.
No, it doesn't. I could have told you that much, Mike. But here we see this moving chicane coming into play once again as Schmitz is catching up to the back of this pack, trying to calculate his move, I assume, but it looks like he misjudged his speed of pursuit just a bit, and the next thing he knows, Philip is airborne, igniting the big one for us tonight.
There we saw it from TJ's perspective as he went flipping and sliding upside down.
Now we see it from Alex's mirror, as you can see all the carnage and flipping cars in the background. This one obviously brought out the caution, and we racked them back up single file for another restart.
The pace car pulls off, and we are back to racing once again with just over 10 minutes left in the race. Now with the top 4 leaders all being real drivers for the first time of the night.
Yeah, and they had pulled away from the pack on the restart, and we saw a great little chunk of hard racing between these guys up front, but soon enough, that pack of AI cars used the draft to catch back up and came back into play.
And here they are, now nipping at the heels of these front leaders, as if these guys up front weren't racing hard enough already.
Yeah, these guys were racing hard, and they were racing clean and respectful, but with the AI pack coming into the mix, I had a feeling things were about to get spicy.
And that they did. It was the AI making a bit of contact, which led to the AI pack checking up and allowing these front 4 to escape to their own 4-way battle out front once again.
Yeah, we saw these guys battle for a few more laps. They were side by side and 3 wide a lot of the time, but no one was able to get their car in front of that number 1 machine. Johnny Brugg had locked that bottom lane down, and he was making it known that this lane was his to claim, and anyone who wanted to try and pass would have to go to the high side.
Unfortunately, that high line proved disastrous for the 009 car, as we just saw Santino Ferrucci break loose on the bottom and crash up into Kevin Dixon, who was a strong candidate up front, running in second place for most of the night.
Yeah, that was a bummer to see for Kevin, as he was competitive all race, and this would be the last caution period of the night. No matter what, since we were now within the final 5 minutes of the race finishing.
We still had a race to finish, though, and nobody was going to fold over and be content with their position, other than Johnny, of course, who was still leading this race.
He was also content with his lane choice. Johnny was still locking down and refusing to move off the bottom, and understandably so, since it had worked for him the entire race. However, he now had Alex Chase, Joshua Perkins, and Philip Schmitz breathing down his neck and waiting for any mistake by Johnny to take advantage on. And we see here in the closing laps, these guys are trying everything they could to get around Johnny. It was going to be a tough task to surpass, though, but I think we should let the audience watch these closing laps for themselves without us yapping over them.
I think that's a great idea, Computer Junior. We will crank it up and let these last few laps of racing speak for themselves. Well, there you have it. Checkered flag earned for the number 1 black and green Mean Machine. Johnny Brugge was able to hold off the brigade of storming drivers behind him and takes his 3rd SIMDYCAR trip to victory lane. Closely following behind were podium finishers Philip Schmitz, who came across 2nd, and Alex Chase rounding out the top 3.
What a spectacular and action-filled race we just saw, man. Congratulations to Johnny on earning that win. He was pretty dominant all night long, and he held those guys off when it mattered most. I also want to thank all the other drivers who came out and participated and put on a great show. And I encourage more people who want to race with us to come on out here with us and be a part of this awesome racing community.
Ditto to that, Junior. Well, that's all we have in store for you all tonight. I'm Mike Joystick.
And I'm Computer Junior.
And it's been our pleasure to bring you this SIMDYCAR presentation. Until next time, have a good night, everybody.